enough of it. Like, what you gonna do? Where you at? Who you with? You ain't really about this. Don't talk about it. Really on the move, on the map, never slip. Keep your hands to your lips. Don't talk about it. Real eyes, real lies, real lies. All the time, stand on it. If we said it, we don't walk around it. Loose lips, sink ships, red cup, blue strips, new phone. Who this? No, we don't allow it. Really on go. I don't know what's an off day. Now we on road. Came from smoking in the hallway. Now we got.
Greetings all. Thank y'all for tuning in on this awesome Friday night. We have an awesome show for you. We have DJ on co-pilot tonight mode, and we have the awesome Dr. Lulu with us tonight as we talk about advocating for the LGBTQIA community. And she is an awesome advocate on this, and she is booked and busy, and I'm loving the booked and busy that she has been lately. Is definitely awesome. She just recently came back from the White House from speaking about advocating for the LGBTQIA community. So I think this deserved episode. So welcome to TK's Chronicles, Dr. Lulu. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you all so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome,
I bring greetings from Kamala Harris, my fellow bison. HU, you know. So
I love it. Being booked and busy is definitely a good thing.
Yes, we had a pool party at Kamala Harris's house.
Nice, very nice.
Nice. Look at you.
Unfortunately, we couldn't take
I love it. I so love. Understood, very very much of understood, but I love it. I love the way that you are getting out there and people are calling you to definitely speak, because this is just what it is. Like, and it seems like in every aspect there has to be an advocate somewhere, and right now you are that advocate for this community in so many ways. You're opening doors, you're getting messages out there on every aspect, not just in every day, but even often to the medical area, because that's an important area too. So to bring the awareness and the knowledge to people is amazing.
Yes, I agree 100%. I believe everyone needs a voice. Everyone should have an advocate or someone to advocate for them on multiple levels. So kudos to what you're doing. Keep up the great work, and I'm here for it. I'm excited.
Thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate it. One of the things that I have a podcast called Moms for Trans Kids podcast. And I had a guest come one time, and she's a white woman, and she was talking about how, she realized that her child didn't have a voice. And so she was going to be a voice for her child. And on the surface, that sounds correct, except your child actually has a voice. Are you listening? So everybody has, of course, if the child is, has speech delay or some other things, we get that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm a physician, I know that. But every child has a voice. Some is sign language. But the question is, are we listening? And so I made that slight correction for her. She was like, oh my God, I never thought about it. The truth is, my child has a voice. But what I'm doing is amplifying it and helping all the people to hear that one, because I'm older and obviously, I'm a mom and all the things, I'm a parent rather. But our children truly have voices already. They do. If you don't believe me, take your toddlers one chicken nugget and you hear the voice. So, they have voices already. We just amplify them. Just take that one chicken nugget and you hear what's happening. The question is, as parents, are we listening to their voices? As a Nigerian, I come from a country where women and children are seen and not heard. As a child, I was raised to believe that it didn't matter when I had to say, oh, I'm a child, and oh, I'm a woman child. So in Igbo land, where I come from, it's a whole different ballgame. Women are definitely not seen and not heard. or rather, women are by default relegated to the kitchen, or to the bedroom, or just anywhere but where business is discussed. But it's the patriarchy, it's misogyny. Because in my Igbo
Yes.
land, the Ada, I'm the first daughter, which is the Ada. In Igbo land, Adas, or first daughters, have the power to topple the government. So we're not actually like powerless. But because of the fact that they know what Umuada can do, if
Okay.
the Umuada come together, Umuada means the daughters, and it's better said in Igbo. The English language just doesn't always hit it with some phrases as well. So Umuada means the daughters. They are sacred. They can do and undo. Like if they come for you, it's over for you. So I love that. In as much as on the outside they want to look like the men have the say, and the men, but really on the inside, the person with the vajayjay has the power. And we know this already. So I'm happy to be here, happy to give voice, and happy to amplify voices of those who may be talking and we're not listening to them. Sorry about that, rant.
That's good. I like that.
I do too. So, with you become an advocate.
Oh, that's a great question. I think you truly cannot effectively advocate for someone unless you have some skin in the game. I think so. As a young African girl, when I was 16, I came to the, well, before that, between 11 and 16, I came to the realization that I liked girls and I liked boys. And about equally. I didn't understand what it was. I was raised Catholic. I was raised very relatively conservatively, in the sense that, Catholics, you have to go to mass every Sunday. You might go to evening mass every day, and all the things. And so it didn't align with what I was being taught. And I took a chance and talked to one of my aunties. She was like, "Oh my God, don't ever mention that again. You will go to hell." I said, "No, no, but no, just don't even think about it. Don't even talk about it." And then I didn't talk about it. And then for graduation from high school, my high school yearbook, one of my classmates thought it was funny to say, "Oh, you're all this and you're that and you're that, and you're also homosexual." And I was like, "Oh my God, if my dad reads this, I'm dead." So I said, "Okay, the best thing to do is to tell my dad ahead of time, because I know he's going to read my yearbook." So I told my dad, I said, "Just so you know, I like girls and I like boys." And the beautiful thing about it is, at that time, my dad was like, "Well, it's a phase. I mean, I know people have that, but it's a phase. It's going to pass." So I like to talk about that story, because my dad never really said, "Oh my God, don't let it," which is the stance that my aunt took. And so having to diminish slash turn down the volume slash squish the life out of that aspect of me for a very long time was when my advocacy for the community was born. Because I'm like, it's like someone who's talking about being Black. You really truly cannot fully advocate for Blackness if you don't have Blackness in you. It's impossible almost to fully advocate fully, like to be present. You have to be part Black. So I think it's the same thing with my LGBTQ activism and advocacy. I am queer. As of this weekend, I actually came out on Instagram as pansexual. I'd been toying with the idea, but this weekend I was like, "Yeah, girl, you are." And I just thought that was so cool to demonstrate the fact that at 55, I'm still evolving. That's the beauty of life. That's what sometimes we're robbed of, that by being put in boxes or being asked to fit in. I learned that from Mel Robbins, that you should never have to fit in. You should take up space and expand. I was like, yes, you should not have to fit in, because that means, okay, let me see. All right. I fit in,
Yeah.
right? Versus, so anyway,
So
so over
let's.
the weekend, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I apologize. Go ahead. I was listening to you.
No, that's it. No, I'm just saying over the weekend, actually, was it a weekend? It's over. Well, I feel like it's a weekend. I was in DC from Tuesday till today. So over the week, it came to my full consciousness, because you've been thinking about, like, it's like, and I use the example of, I'm Nigerian and I love goat's meat. I love it in my food and in my soups and in my stews. Someone who may not be African or
Making me
Nigerian may
hungry.
have been hearing about goats. I may say, one of these days I'm going to try it. Or I don't want to try it. Or like Americans say, but does it taste like chicken? No, it tastes like goat, right? So, and I gave them as an example. I said, imagine if you've been thinking, I want to try goat, I want to try goat, and then somebody cooks with goat and you eat it without knowing it's goat. And then they tell you, that was goat. You're like, what? It was awesome. Or I knew there was something wrong with it, but you've already eaten it. So for me, I've been thinking that, I've been going through, and I have to explain the difference of the words. So just let me know. I've known that I'm sapiosexual for a long time. A sapiosexual is someone who is attracted to intellect. I've known that. I want to have conversations with people that are smarter than me. I need that. But by design, I find myself in spaces where I'm usually one of the
Smart.
smartest, depending on the topic. But I do like that I'm well read. I'm very vast in knowledge. I speak 9 languages. I read books. I have 7 bookcases. And we went to to a bar, to a place yesterday in DC. And one of the people I went with was like, oh my God, where are the drinks? And I was like, oh my God, there's a bookstore. I have an affinity for books. I love books. And so I read a lot. That said, like, I've written these many books. These are my books that I wrote. So I love reading. Okay. So, but someone who reads a lot and I mean, it's like you can't diminish that. And so when I walk into a space, I want to meet someone else who reads a lot, or someone else who's able to carry on a conversation about most things, if not all things. And it's a challenge for me. It's been a challenge. So I've been thinking, I said, I know I'm sapiosexual, which is officially not a sexual identity, but it's defined as someone who's attracted to intellect. But I've also been toying with the idea that I might be pansexual. And I say this because bisexuals, which is actually 58% of Black women are bisexual. Most we don't know that. 58% of Black women are bisexual. So I knew I was bisexual. And now when you go into the books, people actually argue that there's no more bisexuals, they're just pansexuals. Pansexual, okay, bisexuals are people who are attracted to binary genders. And by binary, I mean, I am a girl, I know I'm a girl, I'm only a girl. Versus non binary, I am sometimes male, sometimes female, or maybe neither, or a little bit of both. That's non binary. So I don't really subscribe to one binary gender. So I've been toying with the idea that there's this really cool guy on the internet that I really, really like have this like attraction to. But they're trans. And I was like, oh, a pansexual person is someone who is attracted to every gender, whether it's non-binary or
Yes.
transgender or cisgender. So I'm like, girl, is you pan? Is you pan? And I've been playing with it now. Over the week, I hang out with this other person, and for all intents and purposes, they're just a regular guy, except they're trans. And I'm like,
Yeah.
girl, you is pan. You know, it's like, you is pan. And then I met other people who are non-binary. I'm like, oh my God, they're cute. And so sexual attraction doesn't mean sexual expression, doesn't mean sexual act. And I think people mix up the words. And when they hear LGBT, the first thing they think about is sex. So I talk about it. I said, let's talk about this so we can get it out of the way. How would you feel if every time people looked at you as a heterosexual person, all they're thinking about is sex? I mean, how would you feel? Like, I don't care about your dreadlocks. I don't care about your skin color. I don't care that you're a PhD. I just want to know, what are you doing in bed? I mean, it really reduces the whole community to nothing but sex. And truly, I talked about this yesterday on my Instagram. We have, among the LGBT plus community, we have the asexuals or aces who do not, as a matter of fact, have sexual urges. They actually do not have sexual attraction. So people that don't know, ignorance, we die because of our ignorance. And so I love educating people about just all these things and helping people find out who they are and all the levels and all the beauty of just freedom of truly finding out who you are. And it's not about sex. It's about me discovering at 55 that, oh, there's this aspect of my life that I've never even really thought about. And I want to set people free. I want them to be free enough, especially Black people, because we're beautiful humans. I mean, goodness, civilization and humanity started in Africa. We're beautiful, we're colorful, we're air, we're light, and we're seaweed, and we're music, and we're words, and we're all these things. And if God truly is omni everything, then how dare we reduce God to male?
Right.
How dare we even try to categorize God? Because in my Igbo land, God is the gender of the person that is speaking. Your God or your Ikenga, we call it Ikenga, is your personal God, is the same gender as you. My language, Igbo, does not have binary pronouns. Everybody's they, them. And Igbo land is not the only place. Many indigenous languages have non-binary pronouns. And so we die for lack of knowledge. And so how would I know these kinds of things and not want to share? It's a beautiful thing to learn, to just know that your ancestors were free to do all these things before the colonizers came and brought their own singular religion and said our own religion was not good. I want people to remember that Christianity is not inherently African. It's a foreign religion, and that Africans or children of Mother Africa are the only ones who do not practice their own indigenous religion. You go to Bali, they're Buddhists. You go to China, right? You go to any country, they practice their own religion except children of Mother Africa. So let's ask ourselves the questions which Bob Marley said a long time ago. We must emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. None can free us except us. And so I want to talk to Black parents in my book that is dropping in July. This one is me talking to Black parents. That listen, your child is a gift, no matter what anybody else says. And so advocacy was natural for me. And this is someone who used to argue with God. I said, God, why does my child have to be gay? Please, just do anything except my child be gay, please. And God was like, should I tell her? And the angels were like, nah, let her remain in her ignorance. And eventually, God was like, nah, let me put her out of her misery. And then I found out that my child was not even gay. However, my child was going to be more challenging than gay. And you know what I did? I said, okay, God, I'll take the gay. Because that's what we do. We negotiate with God. Like we was like, okay, listen, okay, I'll take the gay. Like, what? Like, why me? And then God said, why not you?
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, you got to go there. I was like, yeah, why not you? You are this and you are that, and you have a way with words, and your spiritual number is 3. My spiritual number is 3. 3 people with 3 are wordsmiths. God said, I gave you the power of words to communicate with people. And you tell me I shouldn't give you this thing? And then I learned from John, I don't know, the life coach, business coach guy, John something. In his podcast recently, he said, we learn to do hard things so that we can acquire the skills to do harder things. I was like, because they tell you, oh, do the hard things first. Nah. John says, you do hard things. I think it's John. I don't know. What's the name of the big white guy who's like over like leadership? Is it not John? Maxwell. Yeah, John Maxwell. So John's like, no, honey, you learn how to do hard things so you can be ready for harder things. And so I say that because I thought being gay, my child being gay and black and living in America, I thought it was a death sentence for me. And then God said, wait, hold up. I got more. And then my kid was like, actually, I'm non-binary. I was like, what the fuck is that? What is non-binary? And then God was like, actually, there's more. I'm like, wait, there's more? Yes. And I needed to go through that now that I know, because many children go through that. And parents need to know that that's the pattern. So your child might tell you that they're bisexual. And it's just to test the waters. Say, Mom, I'm actually non-binary. And you're like, wait, hold up. I thought you were just bisexual, And then I realized, wait, gender is completely different from sexuality. And I didn't know that. So I'm just saying that it's a huge world of knowledge out there. And I'm still learning. A few weeks ago, I spoke at a conference called Contemporary Relationships Conference. I didn't know what it was about. And I found that it's about polyamory. I'm like, what is that? And it's basically consenting adults who are together in what they call polycules or multiple relationships. My mind was blown because my grandfather was polygamous. He had 8 wives. But those 8 wives, I know that all 8 of them didn't come like, oh yeah, sure, I want to marry you. I want to be wife number 8. Wife number 8 is actually still alive, is younger than my mother. So I know that that's not consensual all the time. And there's hierarchy because my grandfather is like the head of the household. But polyamory is a beautiful thing from those who are polyamorous. They are all consenting adults. They have rules of engagement. And it's just, I'm like, what? Like, what is this? But it's there. I'm just saying that you won't learn anything if you don't open up your mind to learn. And so my job, being an advocate, to answer your question, is helping people set themselves free. And just exhale and let in. Because when you do that, you rise to a higher vibration. And it doesn't mean you won't suffer. It just means that you will be prepared for the suffering, if that makes sense. In the sense that when Jesus went to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, that was hard. But that prepared Jesus for the crucifixion, which is harder. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's the first time I put those two together. To remember that.
And it's awesome that you use the examples that you use, because about 2 or 3 years ago, I was on this spiritual journey, and I was always trying to figure out how to think outside of the box as opposed to thinking inside of the box. But what helped me was realizing there is no box at all. And once I got to the mindset to where, well, there is no box. Why do I have to do be in or out? Everything just made sense. And as you're speaking, I understand exactly what you're saying, because about 2 weeks ago, my 11-year-old son called me on the phone, and we had a conversation, and he told me, where he was, and I was like, I mean, okay, I love you. First thing, I want to thank you for trusting me enough to call me
Yes!
at
Yes!
your age and
Yes!
talk to me about
Yes!
it. And then we had a conversation, and we talked like, so yeah, I understand, and that's I can relate.
The first thing to say is thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. A lot of parents, I post on my page often. I ask questions of the day often because I want to get into their minds. And a lot of parents miss the mark with that question, that what you just said. When their child said, I say, okay, what do you say when your child says you're gay? You say, oh, I've always known. Oh, is that it? Oh, go clean your room. Bullshit. That's deflection.
Yeah.
That is deflection. Because coming out, which I don't like to use that phrase coming out, I like to use the phrase invited in. So this is my other book that's going to drop by Christmas.
Okay.
I like to use the word inviting in or invited in, because I'm not coming out of anything. Just like you said, whose idea was it to put anybody in the closet? I said that in my second TED Talk, which is titled Inviting In versus Coming Out. And I said, whose idea was it to put anybody in the closet? Whose closet is it anyway? What do you put in closets? Dirty shoes and cobwebs and, mess. Why put your child in there? Why put anybody in there? And so I made a case for inviting in. So what I want to say to you right now is thank you for thanking your kid, because inviting in or coming out is about safety. If somebody does not feel safe, they're not going to tell you. And so many African parents, many African American parents will go to their graves believing that their child was straight at home until they went to college or went to school or started hanging out with those queer kids. Think about it, the water finds its level, right? So if your kids' friends are queer, finish the sentence, right? Because nobody wants a queer person around them in today's world. They're ostracized. They're like the lepers in the Bible. In the days of the Bible, the lepers had their own colony. Nobody wanted to go there. Jesus went there.
Yeah.
They were like, yo, Lord, why are you going to mess with these people? So because I came to heal those who are sick. That's what Jesus said. And so Jesus went to the leprosy colony. Y'all are bringing up all of my everything for me today. Jesus messed with the lepers. And I know that if Jesus was walking the earth today, Jesus will hang out with the gays. Because Jesus went with the tax collectors and the women at the well and the widows. Why? Why did Jesus say, whichever one of you who hasn't sinned, cast the first stone? I'm going to be over here writing on the floor. Give me a second. And I looked up and said, where's everybody? Well, then me neither. I'm neither going to condemn you. Go away and sin no more, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Jesus was about. Today's Jesus representatives are not about that. And so we have to call a spade a spade. And when you're a certain age, for goodness sake, I was a commander in the US Air Force. If I'm not smart right now, when am I going to be? So call a spade a spade. We know that it's never been about protecting children. It's not about that. Because if it was about protecting children, there should be no Catholic priest who has molested a child who still wears the garment. Right? It's not about protecting kids. Yeah. It's about pushing an agenda. So let's just call a spade a spade. Yeah, what's going with that?
TK? You got any questions? Is she froze?
I think I think she's frozen.
Yeah. So how do you advocate for them in the medical community? Because I know
that's a great question. That's a great question. So tomorrow I'm actually going to.
And I know there has been some changes. Pronouns and everything now. So how do you do that?
I think I'm glad you mentioned pronouns. Let's go there for a minute. Pronouns have always been in existence. Okay, so we learned about pronouns in kindergarten. Everybody learned about pronouns in kindergarten. Everything on earth has pronouns. Whether it's it, or is she, or is he, we've always had pronouns. However, the non-binary people and the transgender people are the ones that have now said, well, here is my pronoun. And it may not be what I look like. I think that's what made the pronouns come up to the surface. But we've always had pronouns. Pronouns are words you use to describe people in the third person. That's the definition of a pronoun. When the person is not present, what word do you use to substitute? You use he or she or they. In my language, everyone is they. And I had to use that to explain to my father about the concept of two spirits and non-binary so that my dad could get it. Because my dad thinks in Igbo. He doesn't think in English because he went to school and learned in Igbo. I don't know how to explain that, but that's what happened. So anyway, for physicians, when I was in medical school, I went to medical school in the 80s. That's been a long time ago. And we didn't have nothing talking about pronouns or anything then. It was just, they were all called transsexuals, which is a defunct word. Nobody uses that word anymore. They call them transsexuals. But now we know that that's not a term. We've kind of abolished that term. But transsexuals, when I was in medical school, were in the class of mentally ill. Anybody who is LGBT, lesbians, gays, which was kind of what we had then. I think I learned bisexual in medical school as well. They were all mentally ill. So nobody was thinking. So I, knowing at that time when I was in medical school that I was attracted to women, I didn't say anything because I did not fully understand what is this thing that I feel for this girl when I know very well that my auntie already told me I'm going to go to hell. So growing up as a physician, I didn't know anything about how to care for anybody. It was only after my child told me a few years ago that I started putting two and two together. And I started asking my other doctor colleagues, I said, what are y'all doing? They're like, nothing. And then because nobody taught us that in medical school. Today, there are more than 116 medical schools in America. Only 5 of them have the correct curriculum for LGBTQ plus education. 5 out of 116. Therefore, the things are changing faster than medicine is changing. And unfortunately, we have legislators who are making laws banning physicians from any kind of gender affirming care. But they don't realize that gender affirming care is not equal to hormones or surgery. So, what I teach doctors like me is that gender affirmation begins from when the child first says, I'm a boy or I'm a girl at the age of 2 or 3. So it's like I have to remind them by asking them, when did you first know your own gender identity? It's important that if you remember, or if you can tell me, I'm going to ask the gentleman, DJ and Kill Life.
Unk life.
When did you, just for conversation's sake, at what age did you know your own gender identity? And I don't know your pronouns because it's not here, so which is good for me. So that way I'm coming,
As long as I can remember, of course, being born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, by a bunch of, macho uncles and stuff like that, we're told what to do, how to do it, so on and so forth.
I love that you said we're told what to do. I was in September of last year, I was in St. Petersburg, Florida, speaking to a bunch of medical students, the second year pediatric residents, so doctors. And I asked them the same question. I said, I want everybody to tell me, at what age did you know your gender identity? It was dead silence. And finally, one kid raised up his hand very apprehensively and said, my parents told me. Our parents told us. And that is true. We assign gender roles and gender identity and sex at birth. We assign those. But now we're learning that gender identity takes place in your brain. Only you know your gender identity. Nobody else can tell you your own gender identity. And now that we're learning that, I just want people to make the connection. I need people to make the connection that if you knew your gender identity as far back as whenever, your transgender child also knew their gender identity way back. However, the same thing that we've been talking about here. Number one, they're having to fight with their own self, like, wait, but if mom says I'm a boy and dad says I'm a boy and everyone is calling me a boy, why don't I feel like a boy? Right? And so it takes them a while. They say it takes up to 14 years. The studies show that it takes up to 14 years before kids can tell from when they first come out to themselves. That means it can be 34, it can be 44. My friend, I forget her name right now, last name Evans. She came out to her wife after 31 years of marriage. 31. They're 39 years marriage now, but she came out 8 years ago after 31 years of marriage. So I asked her wife, I said, Linda, tell me, Holly, her name is Holly. I said, Linda, tell me, why did you stay? She said, because I still loved her. And I thought that's the beauty. That's someone who loves the person, not their genitalia. And I love that. I thought that was so powerful. She said, because I still, and she started crying. She said, because I still loved her. And I didn't want to lose her. That was so powerful. I wish Black people would allow themselves to experience that kind of love. That I love you no matter what. Maybe we do. I'm just saying, I don't know. But we struggle with religious trauma. We struggle with cultural trauma. We struggle with intersectionality. We're so busy struggling with that. We don't have time to smell the roses. We think we're smelling the roses, but we're not. True freedom comes from when you say to yourself, like you said, there's no box. That is the day you're born. Truly, that is the day your life begins. So thank you so much for saying that. You don't know how powerful coming from, and I'm going I'm going to clock you by saying you're cisgender male. I don't know if you are, but you don't know how powerful that is. Because one thing that we, as Black people, the reason there's still racism today is because we don't have enough anti-racist white people. And so bringing that home to the queer community, and I just love Marlon Wayans, or whatever his name so much, or Dwayne Wade so much, because they are, for all intents and purposes, cis Black men taking the stand that this is my child, and you have to come through me first. And for so long, women have been doing that. My dad, he told me, he said, if really what you're saying is true, then you are also gender queer. My father said that to me. I was like, wait, what? He said, because you have the spirit of a man. Because of the things you do are Herculean. And my father said that to me. I was like, wow. So but obviously I don't feel like I'm gender queer. Maybe I am in his eyes, but however he's going to take to understand what's happening with his first grandchild is welcome. So I want us to just realize that what you said to me is so powerful. And so kudos to you for saying thank you for finding me a safe space to share. The second question to say, the second thing that comes out of your mouth should be, how can I help you? What can I do to protect you? What do you want me to do next with the information? As opposed to, where did you get it from? Who told you? Who messed with you? All these things. Just asking, leaning into vulnerability, right? And I tell the doctors to do the same thing, because a doctor is the next thing to a parent in the doctor's office. Yeah. And so if the child tells you that this is who they are, your job is to protect them. So I usually review the medical ethics with the doctors. I remind them that there's something called autonomy, meaning that your patient knows and represent themselves. There's something called justice, the principle of justice, where you must treat everybody equally. There's a principle of beneficence, which means you must do good by your patients. All of them, everything you do must be to the benefit, greater good of your patient. And then non-maleficence is first do no harm. And so I remind them of those oaths that he took. And then I say, to me, for the queer community, I say, first do no further harm. Because they've been traumatized already. So to answer your question, that is the most important piece of the work that I do with doctors, is helping them do no further harm. Because truly, gender affirmation, sexuality affirmation is much bigger than hormones and surgery. It's walking into the room and saying, my name is Dr. Lulu, my pronouns are she, her, mama, beast. How should I address you? Every time you see the patient, because when my doctor saw me last week, I was bi-freaking sexual. Today, I am pansexual. It's that fluid. And so doctors being ready, but also because their employees are queer, their co-workers are queer. So it's bigger than just the patients. And ultimately, it affects the bottom line. Because if you do me right, I will tell my friends, this doctor is good people. And so I want the doctors to see that it's bigger than just some random physician, because doctors only listen to doctors. Some random physician just ranting. And then remember that if your patient ever leaves your office and goes and jumps, that's not going to look good on you, because suicide is a big thing in the community.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I could, as you were speaking, I kept getting these visuals, right?
And it's a lot of, right?
Well,
yeah.
Like I kept getting these visuals and just like snapshots of like life and people that I've crossed paths with, and even interactions that I've had, like, and like, so why is it important for you to call me black, right? Because it's how I identify. So why is it important to respect someone else's choice? So I get it. It's not just a pronoun, but it's liberation.
It's liberation.
So I get it
That is
100%.
the best quote for the day. That is the quote for the day. It is not only liberation, it is busy freaking ability. Once upon a time, Black people were seen as a fraction of a man.
Yep.
But who were they seen by? They were seen by white people. And some white people today still want to argue that we are still a fraction of a man. Anyone who's been the underdog, you know what it feels like. You know what it feels like to be seen. Black women are so tired of being tired, of going to work and having our work misappropriated, right? Our words misinterpreted. Look at Dr. Gay, an academic doctor, unlived herself because of trauma at the workplace.
Wow.
So I need us to remember that Black people, we have seen 99. We know what 100 is like. And so when Black people, especially when Black people are homophobic, it kills me, because you already know. And so when a whole country like Ghana decides to ban the existence of their own people, Ghana is Nigeria's next door neighbor. In this book, I talk about Ghana and Nigeria being two of the most homophobic countries in the world, well, at least in West Africa. It is very dangerous to listen to Western thinking. Jesus was not white. If Jesus really came from Israel, Jesus was not white. But you have to fight to explain to people that Jesus was not white. And so fuck that mentality. Because guess what? My people, we didn't even know there was a Jesus. We've been living our whole lives until people came and said, no, the religion is bad. Here, take our own religion, or we'll kill you.
Yep.
So
that's
really,
a whole other conversation right there.
I mean, right? we talk about the Catholic Revolution, the bloodshed on top of the heads of the Catholic Church. I mean, but when you bring that up, my dad is like, well, that was then. I said, Daddy, that was now. That was then, that was now. When a Catholic priest molests a child, they redistribute the priest. They should take their robe from them. And then they're busy pointing fingers at drag queens. Drag queens are women with books, reading books to children in the library. So who is wearing the gown? Who should we be afraid of? Which gown? You know what I mean? Like, come on. I mean, they may not be women. Drag queens are usually not women. Anyway, my bad. I meant to say people wearing dresses. What I meant to say, yes. But it doesn't matter, because if they wore pants, they'll pick at them, and that's what I want Black people to remember. They would not only lynch Black people, they would leave their bodies there.
This way.
And then justify it with the Bible. Wait, what? We had slavery, and I was talking about that because I was at the Smithsonian today in DC, and I was telling them, I said, we had slaves, but the kind of slaves that we had were fed. They had their own quarters. They were treated like humans. They were not flogged. They were not tied to, you know what I mean? Like, there was no cruelty to them. As a matter of fact, it was a business transaction. Sometimes the slaves were married as wives, you know? So it's a whole complex thing. It was a beautiful thing. And they came and said, no, there's everything wrong with it. Meanwhile, let's take some of your children. Let's take your art. Let's take your diamonds. Let's take your coat, right? Let's take all these things over. Come on now, y'all. Come on. Like, when are we going to know that this is wrong?
Mhm.
So, anyway, that's all I have for y'all, my friends.
That's enough. I love it.
This all day.
I'm here for it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
It is very, very educational, and I'm so glad that you were able to come on with us tonight, because I know you, like I said, you've been moving. You had just got off of Flyrel as well. So we definitely thank you for coming on tonight. So tell us, what does Dr. Lulu have going coming up?
Oh my God, what does Dr. Lulu not have coming up? You, freedom. Really, truly, the one word is freedom. Just the freedom. I'm so happy because my children are seeing me. I needed my children to see me this happy. To me, that's the most important work I'm doing, is raising these three children, two of whom I'm raising as young Black men, and one of them is trans. I need them to see what's possible for them. This is not about my work as a speaker, as an advocate, as an author. No, this is about my life. I need them to, when I pass on, to write on my tombstone, beneath the stone lies our mother. She lived life to the fullest. That's not about my work. That's about everything. It's about everything. I don't know. I can't put it in words, and words always fail me when people ask me that, because it's like, and I'm happy that words fail me, because that tells me that there's something bigger than me. You know, I want people to see me and say, I want some of that. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I have found what happiness is truly. I drink water, like, it's like, and I'm happy. And there's nothing wrong with anybody who drinks and smokes. I mean, I'm not dogging. I'm saying that you can find it. You can. It's available to you. It's available to all of us. It truly is available to us.
Keep us posted on your book releases.
Thank you.
I am definitely interested. You have helped me in such a way. I mean, I don't even know if you or if TK realizes, but I am in a process of birthing a ministry, Bridging the Gap Ministries, and everything that we talked about is part of the gap that needs to be bridged. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. And thank you for being an affirming father. I'm actually compiling an anthology. This is an anthology that I did with 21 other immigrant women, one of my books. We wrote this book during the lockdown. That's me. So it was, if you look closely, you can see their faces of 21 immigrant women. We did this book together during the lockdown.
Nice.
And I want to do something like this with parents of LGBT kids who want to tell their story, because in your stories lie everybody else's, like, we have pictures, we have just beautiful, it's just a beautiful telling, this is me. But just being able to just share a piece of you so that someone else will say, wow, like you said, while I was reading it, I was seeing myself, something like that. Like, okay. So I want to do that for parents, especially for Black parents of queer kids. There's never been anything like that done before. And Toni Morrison said, if you're looking for a book to read and you can't find the book, write it. So I want people to go find my books. Please go on Amazon, find my books.
Write it. Definitely.
Read my books, please. This one is going to be a documentary, by the grace of God. It's about teen mental health and teen suicide. I'm really excited about that. So we definitely have a lot of stuff going. If I was going to ask for one favor, it would be for people to just tell people about me, that I do exist. and that you can literally find and reconcile with your inner child. That's what I think at this point I'm doing when I talk about sexuality and gender coaching. I want you to find everything that it takes for you to say the words "I'm free," whatever that is to you, whatever that means to you. And I just want people to reach out to me and let's talk. It's a free consultation. Let me know what you're struggling with. I got a mom today who said she just realized that she's bisexual and she has a 7-year-old child who is struggling with that. So I was like, that is so beautiful. And let's talk about it, right? So how can I help you and then help your child get through that? So it's the same thing as bridging the gap. What is missing?
Yep.
What has your child been told? Why is your child thinking that this is the only way to be, right? So it's just a beautiful thing. And then of course, my podcast is called Moms for Trans Kids
Yeah.
Podcast. Y'all, please go check it out. We
YouTube?
we are booked till February.
Yay! I love it. I love it. I love it. That is amazing. I love that. I definitely love that. But y'all definitely
Congratulations.
check out the books. As many. Definitely congratulations. Because when you told me about the White House thing, I was like, yes, I love it. That is
Yes.
That's a big
big
deal.
stuff. Like big. So I definitely I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
I
All my
definitely
books are
love
on
it. All
Amazon.
I'm hearing right now is freedom.
Thank you. Yes, freedom, truly. I may have to change my name to the Freedom Coach. I don't know. We'll see. But all my books are available on
Hey,
Amazon.
you
My
may.
podcast, yes, right? My podcast is on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's everywhere.
Okay.
Good podcasts are listened to. And yes, we do cuss on our podcast because we truly don't give a fuck.
She curses too, so it's all good.
Yes, honey. And I just tell her, I said, the word
Hey,
is like chicken.
we cuss it. We know.
It's just a word. It's just a word. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a word. But
TK,
thank
you wanna end us, or you tell us what you got going on, or what you know how you want to
Yeah,
shut it
we
down?
don't. I'm good. We can close out because
Yeah.
I know, like I said, Dr. Lulu, I promised we would keep it up under an hour because she got to get up early in the morning to do her. Definitely, she's booked and busy. So I thank y'all for everybody for tuning in tonight. We love and appreciate y'all as always for the support that y'all have given us and continue. So definitely tune in next week. Our house therapist will be back in the building and we will be covering abandonment issues. Woo!
I want to watch.
Baby.
I want to watch. The episode. How do I watch the episode? Because I
Okay,
really want to be part of that. Because that's one of the things that LGBT children feel all the time. Intense abandonment, which is what leads them to despair,
Mhm.
that leads them to
Definitely,
self-harm,
definitely. And like
that
I
leads
was,
them to
yeah, and like I was telling you, our house therapist that we have is LGBTQ as well. So she's awesome. We just happen to run across each other on Facebook, and we had her on a couple of episodes, and she's locked in. So she's an awesome individual as well. She has a therapy that she has under herself where she does offer free therapy services for mental health as well as grief and everything. So she's very awesome. And she gives good information. So you can actually watch that episode, whether if you follow us on Facebook, on the YouTube channel, subscribe, they come on there as well. And then we're on Apple and Spotify and everything as well, also on that. So I can send you the link tree.
yes,
with
please
all
send
that
it to
on
me.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'll remind her to
Please
send you the
me.
link.
Yeah, I didn't realize that there were comments this whole time. I did not realize that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we got comments on both sides.
I didn't realize
Yeah,
that. I would have
we had
said
some coming
something
in.
to them. Yeah. But can you please share my Instagram with them if you don't mind?
You want to put in the
it on
comments?
thing. My Instagram is Dr.
Yes,
Lulu.
I sure
Dr. Lulu. Yeah, Dr. Lulu Talk Radio. if anybody wants to follow me, and if they have any questions, I did not realize that there are people. Sharida, thank you so much. Oh my God, I didn't realize that.
Oh yes, they was
Hi,
coming.
Sharida. I didn't realize that.
Everybody was just saying, "Hey, this is."
Yeah, I did not know that. Oh my God.
Yeah, people saying this is educational. They were just tuning in. I think you had everybody just stuck to their seat, taking in all the information.
Thank you.
So that is awesome.
Now,
Thank you,
but
DJ,
but
for
the thing
that.
about that
So
though
I
is
definitely love it.
I want them to hear me, but really all of that is useless if you don't take action. So I want them to take action. So if anybody could, it's enough, you hear, but you forget. I mean, that's why we go to church every Sunday, right? So I want you to take action. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, please reach out to me. If you could put my Facebook specific, my Instagram, excuse me. My Instagram is no, that's not my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Lulu. So it's Dr. Lulu Talk Radio. I'm going to try to change it to Dr. Lulu Official or something. But Talk Radio, because I had a radio show a long time ago. But yeah, thank you all so much.
Gotcha.
Yes, good info. I have family. Yes. Hope now I can see the comments.
Thank y'all again. Thank you again, Dr. Lulu.
You're welcome. Yes, that's
and we will definitely see y'all next week. We appreciate y'all. Much love.
Yeah, what's up with it? Do it cause I love it and I stuck with it. We ain't with the sub.
She gone already. Yo.